What's up, guys, and welcome to Scourge of War Waterloo, episode 32, part 4. This will be the final video for our playthrough of the Battle of Ligny, as the French, also known as the Eagle Triumphs. So, in the last episode, or in the last part, we captured Wagnally and opened up the main objective we've been going for the whole time, which was the 5,000 points every 20 minutes objective on the Namur Road, and basically accomplished what it is we set out to do. So I'm just going to start the video here because I'm not really doing anything too important here at the beginning, and I'll just be able to talk over it. So, okay, when I did this playthrough, I reached a dilemma at this point in the battle, which of course being the final part, the last 2 hours of the battle, and the dilemma is basically, what now? Because tactically speaking, we've pretty much done everything we need to do to win this battle. The whole point of everything we've been doing up until this point was to capture that objective on the Namur Road, and we've done that. So what do we do for the next 2 hours, the last 2 hours of the battle? Well, we could just sit here, sitting on our butts, doing supply wagon runs just like this, and basically just sitting on that objective on the Namur Road and collecting 5,000 points every 20 minutes, and we'll just watch our score go obscenely high while basically sitting here doing nothing. That would certainly be the Rob thing to do in terms of being the easiest and most efficient way to claim victory. But it wouldn't make for a great video. It would basically be 2 hours of me sitting here doing supply wagon runs. And if that's all it was going to be, why not just fast forward to the end, and watch the major victory screen come up and call it a day with a 2-minute video, right? I've never done that before, and I certainly don't want to start doing that now. And at the same time, I had to think of something to do with this video that would make it worth watching for you guys. And 2 hours of me sitting here doing supply wagon runs and just holding the Prussians in containment behind the River Ligny is pretty boring. You would watch 5 minutes of it and say, okay, I got it. Fast forward to the end, and pretty much nothing would change. So I basically had to think of something to do in this video to make it worth watching. So that being said, I just want to start off by saying nothing that you're really going to see me do in this video you actually need to do. If you followed my strategy of attacking Saint-Armand-la-Haye, and then Wagnally, and then getting your troops up onto the Namur Road, you've already won. The scenario's over. You can just hold the Prussians behind the River Ligny and rack up an obscene amount of points with your troops up on the Namur Road, and that's all you need to do to win the scenario. But as I said, for YouTube, for giving you guys a reason to watch, I really just didn't want to do that. I didn't want to just sit here and have a 2-hour video of me just doing supply wagon runs on my guns and, shifting troops ever so slightly to meet whatever piecemeal and paltry Prussian attempts to attack might be made. It would just be a very boring video to watch. So I decided to do exactly what I said we don't need to do in part 1 of this series on the Eagle Triumph, and then that's to attack Ligny. Basically because it's really the only other viable target out there right now. Bry is not worth attacking because it's not an objective until you capture Ligny. So there's a lot of guns out there right now anyway. There's a lot of Prussian troops centered around it, and as I said, it's not worth anything unless you capture Ligny to begin with. So yeah, basically that's what I decided to do. I have Gerard's whole corps just sitting out there. They've been doing nothing for 5 hours, and Ligny is really the only viable target left on the battlefield to attack. That is an objective. There's Tongrind, of course, all the way over on the right, but as we know from playing the old Fox Fights Back, it's covered by von Thielmann's whole corps, while all we really have to work with is Gerard's corps, or you know, basically Hulot's division of Gerard's corps. I suppose we could have attacked with the entirety of Gerard's corps against the Tongrind position. That would have been interesting, completely ahistorical, but it would have been interesting. But no, most of Gerard's corps is facing Ligny, and that's where our artillery bombardment has been having the most effect over the past few hours anyway. So that's basically what I decided to do, is to attack Ligny and capture it, to kind of take the battle into more of a historical direction. Not that you know, attacking as we did with Van Damme's corps wasn't really historical, but we weren't doing it for the same reasons Van Damme was, of course. They were trying to, of course, push the Prussians off the heights and actually push them back towards the Rhine, whereas we were just unlocking a series of objectives to get to that Namur Road objective. But as I said, that's all basically done with right now. That part of the battle is, for most purposes, over. We've taken all those positions. We've unlocked the objective on the Namur Road, captured it. We're getting an obscene amount of points from it as our cavalry division, Jacquinot's cavalry division, sits there. And so there isn't really much left to do of any kind of real importance left on this side of the battlefield. Our line of containment is really in no danger, as you can see by the giantness of it, in no danger of being overtaken here. And so yeah, basically I've decided that, you know, for the video, you guys do not need to do this to win the scenario. If you followed my strategy of what I did with Van Damme's corps and Duret's division and Jacquinot's cavalry division and so forth, as I said, you've already won, and you know, you can pretty much just let the game run and, you know, go watch a movie and drink some beer at this point. But for YouTube, you know, I had to think of something to give you guys a reason to watch it. So we're going to basically do the same strategy we did in, I think it was episode 23, which covered this assault on Ligny from Gerard's corps. The only difference, of course, is in that scenario, Vichery's division, with his 2 brigades of Le Capitaine and Desprez, start off unavailable to you. They start off fixed in that scenario, and so you have to attack with Peugeot's division on the far left over there. Which meant in that scenario we had to kind of do a sweeping left hook to get our troop from all these troops over here. We had to kind of do a sweeping hook here to get them into this position. However, in this scenario, all our troops start off under our command, and so we can pretty much just use Vichery's division right at the beginning here. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm moving Le Capitaine and Desprez's brigade forward towards the extreme left end of the town, and we're just going to hook into it the same way we did in episode 23, Gerard's attack. And I'm basically, what I'm going to do is, you're going to see me spend a lot more time with the mini-map open like this. And basically what I'm doing is I'm just using it to keep an eye on the whole battle. And I'm just looking for big changes, such as, you know, Prussian troops coming forward at all points along the line. So here you can just see I'm just keeping an eye on a lone Prussian skirmisher unit that is advancing, as well as some Prussian cavalry on the southern part of the River Ligny here between Saint-Armand and Ligny. And I'm just looking to see, just watching, just keeping an eye on them. They seem to be coming forward. I think they would be crazy to come forward against what's in front of them, but you never know with the AI what it's crazy enough to do. So yeah, I'm just monitoring them. You know, I've got a square out there, I've got cavalry, I've got artillery, you know, a whole, nothing that any one squadron of cavalry would want to take on. And so, yeah, I'm just keeping an eye on the line while Le Capitaine and Desprez advance towards Ligny. Seeing where this lone Prussian officer here is running to. He better get the hell out of there. And, yeah, we had some Prussian skirmishers come forward. They didn't like the taste of what we were cooking, and they have quickly run off. So yeah, basically, going back to what I was saying is you guys don't need to do what I'm going to do in this video. Ligny is irrelevant. It really is. It has nothing to do with winning this battle. It's just that inevitably, if you play this battle the way I do, even dragging my heels as I did through the first 3 parts of this series on the Eagle Triumphs, where I really took my time in capturing these objectives, it's inevitable that by the time you reach the final 2 hours of the battle, you're pretty much going to have the entire left side of the battlefield under control, and you're going to be on the Namur Road. And yeah, you're going to have 2 hours or so of basically just twiddling your thumbs and doing supply wagon runs, which is fine if you're not recording a video series for YouTube. I would have, you know, happily just let my troops sit there, keep an eye on the Prussians that are all bottled up at St. Armand-la-Haye and at Wagnally here, and just gone and watched a movie or something. But for YouTube, obviously, I have to give a reason for you guys to watch it. And I was short on answers of what to do, and really the only viable option was to attack Ligny. So that's what we're going to do. So here is Jacquinot's division here. He's got his artillery battery, has 15 points. He's racked up about 15,000 points just sitting here. And I'm sure after this we'll go pop over to Napoleon and see what our point total is. And yeah, there seems to be a Prussian infantry unit slightly in front of me. But I'm guessing they're a routed unit because I can't see them. They would literally be kind of right here. On the mini-map, they'd be right on this road in here, but I can't see them, so I assume they're just a routed unit. Because I can't imagine what a lone Prussian battalion would be doing up there. I'm looking for them, but I don't see them, so I'm assuming they're just routed. You can see the question mark, which is to signify a unit that is not identified, but you can see them, but I don't see them. So, yeah, I'm going to just assume they're a routed unit. So, here we have Desprez's brigade of Vichery's division advancing on the town. And this attack is much easier than it is in... and here is Le Capitaine right behind him. And, yeah, as I was saying, this attack is much easier than it is in the core attack scenario, Ligny. Episode that we covered in episode 23, because it's taking place so much later in the battle. Artillery has really bombed the heck out of these Prussians in this area of the town. They're not at full strength, and they're not in as good a shape as they are at the beginning of the Gerard's Corps attack scenario that we covered in episode 23. So the Prussians inside of Ligny are already kind of shaky. In fact, if I bring up the mini-map, you can see that there are a number of broken units inside of the town already. One of my artillery batteries here seems to have pulled back a lot of its guns, probably because the supply wagon is not doing its job and has let some of these guns run out of ammo. I was not monitoring the artillery on this side of the field for most of the scenario, just letting the AI handle the supply wagons. It's not always as diligent as I am. So we'll bring these guns back up and see if the AI supply wagon will feed them, so to speak. And you can see that in the middle part of the field here, it's the only part of the battle where the Prussians are kind of still engaged with us. They're kind of bottled up outside of St. Armand-la-Haye. And they seem to be coming forward with some more infantry here. They're going to get kind of caught in front of this fort here and forced to engage the troops I have inside the fort. I do have a square kind of forward here that is certainly getting shot up, and will probably need rescuing soon. But, you know, other than that, the fact that we're hidden behind these houses is doing us all sorts of favors in protecting us from both the Prussian battery that's outside the town, you know, as well as keeping all these troops bottled up here. But I'm going to see if I can form some of this unit into line, so that I can actually start shooting at some of these units. You know, as long as the square is here, this cavalry is kind of trapped back here. You know, and I'll stick the skirmisher unit that's hanging out here, and I'll put them into the fort, just kind of buff the fort with more troops, because this fort will do a great job of just kind of keeping the Prussians tied up out there. And the battle sort of heats up around this area too. And as you see, I'll start siphoning troops off of my left, because in the Wagnley area there's pretty much nothing left but a few Prussian cavalry battalions out there by the Young Guard. But there's a lot of troops I have over there now that are basically serving no purpose, as all the Prussians are gone from that part of the field. So I'll begin siphoning some of those troops over to this area, as the Prussians seem to be bringing more troops over here. You know, and as long as I can keep them kind of outside the town and, you know, kind of stuck in front of this fort, you know, it's not such a big deal. I just want to make sure that I can really keep control of this. I don't want to lose control of this fort, because it's acting as a great breakwater in terms of stopping any kind of Prussian units that come within range of it. So I'm basically going to split a skirmisher unit off from this battalion that's doing absolutely nothing back here, and just send one more skirmisher unit into the fort, just to get get about 300 men in there, 3 different units, you know, so I have a sizable force holding it. As you can see, I'm shifting my guns over to face that side of the field now. They don't have a great line of fire, or, you know, line of sight, because, again, there's a lot of buildings in the way. But they're certainly not doing any good over here, where there are basically no more Prussians. You know, and I still have plenty of other guns over here, too, you know. So, yeah, all these forces over here, all this infantry and artillery that I have over here, there's not much over here anymore, you know. They're basically all back here, really not much of a threat to anybody. You know, and so I'll begin siphoning some of those troops. So, as you can see back here at Ligny, the Prussians have made no attempt to kind of do anything about our advance here. As I said, there's a lot of broken units inside the town that have been shelled all day at this point, you know, for like 5 hours, you know. And so we're going to, you know, advance pretty easily up to the town here. And basically we're just going to do exactly what we did in episode 23, where we're going to basically enter the town through here and move up through this corridor in here and push the Prussians aside, whatever, there's not much on that side of the town, and head for the objective. And it's another one of those 10-minute waypoint objectives. It's just worth 1,000 points, which, like I said, is pretty paltry compared to what we're earning on the Namur Road. But like I said, at this point in the battle's already won. This is just something to do, really, for the final 2 hours of the battle, because, as I said, it would be pretty boring if I didn't do anything. But yeah, the battle is pretty much won. Once you capture that objective on the Namur Road, it's just, you know, you're siphoning off a ridiculous amount of points every 20 minutes, and it just grows and grows and grows. So yeah, this is just gravy. I'm bringing a cavalry division up on my right, just on my right flank, off the eastern side of Ligny here, just to cover my right. I know that there's Prussian troops in these woods here, and I want to put a cavalry division on my right, just to prevent them from doing anything, or just to certainly realize that if they do anything, they're in for a fight. So I've shifted my battery over, and now we got a Prussian infantry unit inside, in front of the fort here. Now they're getting fired on by both the units in the fort as well as in the flank by the square. Now the square is, of course, firing at a reduced strength, because when you're in square, your firepower is reduced by 75%. So they're only firing at 1/4 strength, which is basically just to represent that it's just this side of the square facing them. So they're not doing a lot, and they're not going to drive them off as fast as, say, if I had a skirmisher unit, you know, on their flank, you know, putting all their fire into, you know, into this unit. But nevertheless, it is still flank fire, and they're still shooting at them in the flank. And basically keeping an eye on that, as well as doing our attack on Ligny. So we've got both our brigades. We've got Desprez in front, Le Capitaine in back, and we can see that there's basically like one Prussian unit right here, and that's it, as well as whatever is in this little fort here that's been getting bombed on for hours. So yeah, this is one little battalion here, and we're going to advance Le Capitaine and just kind of walk right up to them and just, you know, give them the bayonet and knock them out of the way. And we'll bring, yeah, Desprez right here, and then we'll bring Le Capitaine up in reserve. And we're basically going to let Desprez carry out the attack here, because he's got a smaller brigade. He's only got 4 battalions. He can fit into this corridor a little easier than Le Capitaine's battalions can, and still hold formation. So we're going to let Desprez lead the attack here, and move him into position, and then charge this battalion and get them out of there, and then keep moving kind of northwest towards the objective. As we do, some of the Prussian troops that are over on this side of the town with the guns will start moving in, as they realize that we're not coming forward through the front, we're coming in through the side. They'll start to move over, and largely it'll be the same thing that happened during the Ligny Corps scenario that we covered in episode 23, where we'll basically kind of set up in a semicircle, you know, kind of with our cord on the objective, and kind of swinging kind of southwest here along this area in here, and just kind of shoot the Prussians back as they come up. So here we can see a broken unit. As I said, there's broken units all over the place in here. You can tell they're all just not in formation. These are all just routed units that have just kind of broken. Yeah, this unit has formed line. They've started to shoot at us, and we're just waiting for our battalions to come up, and then we'll just charge the whole brigade and knock them out of the way. These some skirmisher units are coming forward, but again, we're just gonna, you know, we're not gonna bother shooting it out with skirmisher units. We're just gonna walk through them. So this battalion will quickly give way. There's, you know, they're only one battalion getting charged by an entire brigade of French soldiers here, so this isn't going to go well for them at all. They're just going to run. And I'm being a little cavalier with Desprez's brigade in terms of using, you know, an entire brigade to charge one battalion, just because I want to get as many of these Prussians knocked out of the way of the objective as possible. And I have Le Capitaine's brigade coming up in reserve if I need them, so I can afford to be a little bit cavalier here with Desprez's brigade, because I know there's not much opposing me, and I want to move quickly before and gain possession of the objective before there is a lot opposing me, before the Prussians have a chance to shift their units over from the, you know, the castle side of Ligny. So right now they're basically just sending skirmisher units forward, although you can see a battalion moving in on the left here, down here. There they are. But you can see there's a lot of broken Prussian units that have routed and are just, you know, their formations are broken and whatnot. Here comes another one, so we can see more troops coming in. And so again, we're going to charge Desprez's brigade here, and we have gained possession of the Ligny objective, but it's a very tenuous hold. We really don't have it securely yet. We may actually lose it before we actually get it here, because we just don't really have a solid hold on it yet. So we're going to charge in and hit these 2 Prussian battalions here. We're going to knock them back, but as we keep trying to push forward here, some of this Prussian resistance is going to start to turn us back. Because, as I said, these are just regular troops. They're certainly not the Imperial Guard, and they'll only charge so many times before they've, had enough. So while this is going on, we will we'll start to move Le Capitaine forward and make sure we get a lot of troops. There we go. A lot of troops coming into formation. So some of our troops are falling back. Some of our troops are pushing forward. We're going to turn this line unit here to face these Prussians that are coming forward here. So, all right, this battalion is falling back. This battalion is just holding its position right here. So we're running into a little bit more Prussian resistance at this point. We're going to have to form up and start shooting it out with them, because a lot of our charges have been used up at this point, and our troops will not win any more charges. So as you can see, we've lost the objective. As I said, it was a very tenuous hold. We didn't really have it. So we still have to, we can see more units, one of our units falling back here. So we've run into some Prussian resistance now in the center of town here. But we're bringing up Le Capitaine, and we're setting what's left of Desprez's brigade up in more of a firing line position. We'll get some skirmishers out, and we'll start just basically imposing our will until we push the Prussian units back and gain control of this objective. We're firing into this unit's flank, so they're pulling back. And you'll see me grab hold of Rome's brigade, and I'm going to bring them up kind of right in front of the town here. Now, inevitably, what's happening here is as we attack in here, the Prussian forces that are all in here are moving. You can see them moving this way. So as they end up in a firing line with us, facing kind of, east and west here, what I'm going to do is bring Rome's brigade up to just move through the town and come in on the Prussian flank, and just set up shop and start shooting at them, and this whole line will collapse. You'll see it happen when Rome's brigade comes up. So we again have control of the objective. A little bit better control now. We're closer to it. We're bringing a unit across the river to start shooting at the Prussians. I'm moving the officer a little closer. So our hold on the objective is a little more secure now. So at this point, I'm starting to send out skirmisher units to deal with the Prussian skirmisher units, as well as start to get something of a line set up in here. So I'll kick some skirmisher units out along this area, and kind of have this whole area covered with skirmishers, and start to shift some of these units into a better position. They've just kind of deployed in line here. And, at this point, as I said, Desprez's brigade has pretty much used up all their charges. It's like I said, it's not like the Imperial Guard where you can just charge time after time after time after time, and they'll keep doing it because they are the Imperial Guard. These units are just, these guys are volunteer, level 4, you can see down here. Hardly amazing troops. So you're only going to get like 2 or 3 really good charges out of them before they're like, yeah, we don't really want to do this anymore. We have pretty good control of the objective now. We're down to 7 minutes on it. We're just going to look to set up some interior lines here and push some of these Prussian units out of the town. You can see most of them are concentrated up here. Their units that have fallen back out of the town are reforming. I've got these heroes up here are crazy. They pushed all the way forward and knocked these guys all the way back. So what I'm going to do is take this unit and send them right up the road here in column by division. And this is one of Le Capitain's troops, so battalion. So they haven't charged yet. So they're in good shape. So I'm just going to send them right up the road here and hit this group in here and just see if we can clear all of this out and start to build up a line in kind of like this in here is what I'm looking to do. So we want to get, you know, these units along the northern road here out of there. And as you can see, I'm sending skirmisher units out to cover this side right here, just to screen all my main battalion lines and you know, shoot at the Prussians that are kind of gathered up here. As you can see here, some of the the Prussian troops that are making their way over. So now they're, you know, basically leaving that side of the town undefended, and they're setting up a kind of north-south line in here, and that's when I'm going to bring Rome's brigade in through the front of the town and knock them out of the way. So here we go. We've repulsed the skirmishers. Now we're charging this main line, and we're going to charge these guys as well. This is a fresh battalion, so two good charges we'll get out of them, and that'll be it for them as far as using them to charge. And they're out of there as well. So now this whole area is open here. We can bring these guys forward and turn them kind of this way and start to establish a line kind of up through here and then down through the road. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to move these guys and turn them facing this way. 5 minutes left on the objective. So you can see more of the Prussians coming forward. And you notice I'm being careful to stay out of canister range of this battery back here. That's the whole reason for going in through this side of the town to begin with, is that I know there's no artillery on this side of the town, whereas I know that that battery back there is placed really well. If you try to come through the castle side of the town, you're going to get hit with a lot of canister fire, which is why I always approach the town through the eastern side as opposed to trying to hit the western side of the town through the front here. But here comes Rome's brigade, and like I said, they're going to come through this row of houses here and be ideally placed to set up along the Prussian flank now. So, all right, so we're up on the road here now. We've got a battalion here, here, and here. We're going to start to split off skirmishers to shoot at these guys. We'll set up another skirmisher line in here and another one in here, wherever there's kind of an opening in between the buildings. Pretty much exactly like what I did in episode 23. You also notice we're spending a lot of time over here handling this this engagement right here and paying no attention to what's going on over on the western side of the battlefield, because, as I said, I'm confident enough in my line of containment that it'll hold with nothing serious happening for a little while without me paying any attention to it at all. I set it up that way, so I can do this and not pay any attention to what's going on along the Saint Armand Wagnally line, because I've already set it up to basically hold itself, so I can go a couple of minutes on end without paying attention, and I know nothing serious is going to happen. Which lets us pay attention to what's going on here, without being distracted. So we've gotten control of pretty much the entire eastern part of the town here. We have another Prussian skirmisher unit that has... okay. Let me just pause the video for 1 second here. All right, so this is a message from Lobau now of the 6th Corps, and it's just letting us know. It's letting us know that the 6th Corps is arriving on the field from Charleroi, and basically they've arrived on the map. They're of very little use because they arrive all the way down south of Fleurus, near the very southern end of the map, and it's going to take them a long time just to get them anywhere. So they're of no real use to us. Because they're really far back. I'll bring them forward and just have them set up kind of along the original line that Gerard's Corps occupied. You know, in front of Ligny, just set them up as a reserve there. But there's really nothing I can do with them. There just isn't enough real time left in the battle. There's only about an hour and a half left, and as I said, it's going to take them a long time to get into position anywhere near where any fighting is occurring because they're a long way away. And I'm in the middle of something right now anyway, so I'm certainly not going to go and move them right now. You know, when I get a free moment, I'll worry about them, but they're of no real use to anybody right now. So, but that's just a courier message to Napoleon, letting him know that Lobau's Corps has arrived on the field. Historically speaking, I don't think that Lobau's Corps really played any part in the Battle of Ligny because they arrived so late. The fact that I'm not going to use them, I think, pretty much kind of goes along with historically what happened. As I don't think they were really involved. They arrived too late. Napoleon had left them behind as the army reserve at Charleroi, and only issued them orders very late in the day to start moving towards Ligny. So they've just arrived here. So as you can see now, I'm moving Rome's whole brigade into town on the Prussian right flank, and that's going to basically cause a big collapse of their line. Meanwhile, I'm moving the rest of Le Capitaine's brigade into position on the right. We'll set these guys up in line. We'll send out some skirmishers to contest these guys and clear this out of the way. We've got another group of skirmishers shooting it out with some Prussian skirmishers on the edge of town. And we have our skirmishers over here shooting it out with all these guys that are also on the outskirts of town. And okay, these guys are setting up in line. We're going to move our skirmishers kind of right in front of them to screen them. And you can see some of these units are falling back. And here comes Rome's brigade through the town. And you can see the Prussians are already starting to withdraw. These are some routed units leaving the town. While that's going on, we'll take a quick look over here at the Saint Armand-La-Haye area just to make sure everything is going well. So the Prussians are starting to try and push on our center here. So we're going to shift our guns to the center here to really be able to pound these units with canister as they try and push into the town. Since the Prussians have cavalry out here and out here, I have to keep some of these units in square. And you can see I knew this unit was getting ready to collapse, so I have more reserve units back here. I'll just move them forward. The square took a beating for many hours. So I have reserve units, and I'll bring another one. This is a nice big unit. We'll bring them up and form them in square. This unit is in square. We'll bring the artillery up right behind the squares and basically have an instant built fortress, and then we can just kick out some skirmishers to screen the guns, and we'll be able to pound anything that comes up through here into mincemeat. So this will only take a minute to set up. I want to get the guns into position quickly so that they start firing on these units, because I don't want this unit targeting. You can see that the men are, the squares are obviously not going to get the best of this. So what we need to do to even the odds is to get these guns up here. So we've pushed back a lot of the Prussian units that were outside of the town here because of our units in the fort that we're shooting at them. So they've pulled back quite a bit. The cavalry, of course, is being kept at bay by the fact that I have squares in the town. And all we really have is one Prussian battalion in here trying to figure out what it wants to do. But we're getting our guns set up here, and we're going to blast away at them. And we're bringing this skirmisher unit up in front to screen the guns. And even though, yes, this unit would certainly get the better of the square if I let them fire on them for an extreme length of time, the fact that we have our guns coming up here is going to put an end to these guys real quick. So back at Ligny, you can see that Rome's brigade has now come crashing through the town. There they are, deposited on the Prussian left flank, and the Prussians are out of here. Out of here, and one of Rome's units is going for it here. Although, just the fact that they came in on the flank here has pretty much caused the entire Prussian line to collapse. So, I don't know how necessary this really is, but hey, they're going for it, so let's support them and, you know, see if they can get this last Prussian battalion out of here. So this skirmish unit has fallen back, this skirmish unit has fallen back. We've pretty much gained solid control of there. We've won the objective. We've captured Ligny. You can see the objective has disappeared. And here come this lone brave battalion of Rome's brigade, and see if they can push this unit back. And they are in a protracted fight here, so I'm thinking about maybe sending another unit in to help them out. But I think they end up winning, like, before I even get a chance to send another battalion into the fray. So the Bray objective has been activated, but it's so far away, we're not going to bother going for it. We don't need it. Alright, so we've, just by moving Rome's brigade basically in on the Prussian flank, all their units that they had in here have basically collapsed and withdrawn to the western side of the town. So the eastern side of the town is pretty much completely securely in our hands. And we've captured the Ligny objective. So that's pretty much all we needed to do here. And what I'm going to do now is just take Rome's brigade and turn them to a more suitable facing now that the Prussians have basically collapsed and pulled themselves back to the far western side of the town, and the, you know, on the pulled back north of the town on kind of on this side of things. And it doesn't look like they're making any move from their position. And you can see this gun battery back here. Boy, they earned 430 points. That is definitely the battery that pulverized a lot of those Prussian units inside the town all day long. They earned a lot of points just pounding those units to dust. That certainly made it a lot easier when it came time to actually attack the town. So yeah, that approach into Ligny on through the far eastern side of the town and up that kind of corridor, that's pretty much always the best way to attack the town of Ligny, because all the Prussian might, as far as their defense, is on the other side of the town. So our last brigade of Schaefer's, we're just going to bring them in. We have all our might on the left side now and not too much over here. So we're going to bring Schaefer's brigade just to have some might on our right side too. And I'm just going to set them up in you know, brigade assault column, you know, right behind the river here, just to have some might if we need it on this side of the town. This is one of Desprez's brigades, battalions that was forced to retreat. They are back in good shape. We're just going to bring them to kind of solidify this. You can see I'm basically set up in kind of an arc, and I'm just bringing them to kind of fill out the arc down here. You know, the objective was right here, so we kind of set up an arc kind of through these various openings inside the town. And I'm just advancing this cavalry division just to set them up more on my right flank. And we'll bring Vichery forward just to be with his division. Move Desprez up amongst his troops. And we have Le Capitaine over here. And Rome's brigade is down here. And there's Rome. So one Prussian unit has gone and come forward again, but it's just one battalion in front of an entire brigade here, so they're not going to stand along. And these guys who have somehow gotten out here, I'm just going to pull back and have them hide behind these buildings just so they don't get hit by any of these guns, these Prussian guns back here, who never seem to do a lot of damage when it comes to units that are you know, on the eastern side of the town. They were deployed basically to cover the front in here, you know, by the castle if units try to come through these two avenues. That's why this battery was set up here. But it doesn't seem to be a great position to fire on units in over here. So I'm just trying to move. It's with all these line units, it's tough to actually get skirmisher units out in front of them because there's just not a lot of avenues of approach to get through the line. So luckily I found a space right here where the flag could move through. So as you can see, there they go. The flag is just kind of moving through that gap in the line. And as I've said before, in this game, the flag is the unit's location. So all you need to do is find a small gap to get through with the unit flag, and sometimes you can get an entire skirmisher unit through a very little space rather than having to try to go around this way or around this way to get into position. So we have a huge dense line of French infantry on this side now, so that side of the town is pretty well protected. I think the last thing I do is I bring a gun battery up in here, because I'll set up. If I can get a gun battery set up in here, we can pull some of these troops out of the way to open up their line of fire, and maybe start blowing some big holes in the Prussian lines as they come forward. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Set up a battery. So we'll just hang tight with our skirmishers out in front and wait for those guns to get forward here and try and clean up the rest of this position. So the Prussians gave way relatively easily. As I said, they've been pounded on by the French artillery for most of the day. There were a lot of broken units inside the town as it was. You can see this unit here that's fallen back is completely broken. You could tell because they haven't fallen back and taken on any formation. They're just kind of standing there all disordered, and that's kind of how you know that a unit is basically routed. So there's a couple of units out here, there's a unit out here, but the skirmishers we were shooting at have all kind of withdrawn, and kind of the last bit of Prussian resistance is these two battalions in the center of town here. But we've got skirmishers out front shooting at them. So we're in a pretty good spot here. Got another battalion moving forward. I'll be happy to engage them too. So the hardest part here is that we've actually flooded the center of town here with a lot of troops. Now we have Desprez's brigade intermixed with elements of Le Capitain's brigade as well as all of Rome's brigade. So the hardest part now is just kind of maneuvering within this, you know, kind of arc that I've set up and having room to maneuver, because things are always tight and kind of broken up inside of a town, so it's tough to get a kind of a cohesive firing line, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do here, is kind of straighten my lines out so that they have some semblance of order here. And I'm trying to get some of these skirmisher units into a better spot, but you know, there's not a lot of room to maneuver, and some of these units are having trouble trying to get where I want them to go. And this unit in particular really has a tough time trying to get where I want it to go, because you can see it's hitting a waypoint here, a movement waypoint here, and then it's trying to run to this spot, but it just gets kind of caught up around the building, and it kind of doesn't ever get to where I want them to go, because they're caught in kind of a movement waypoint vortex here, where they're just kind of stuck running around the building because they can't get to the point I want them to go to. And they'll just keep lapping this building like a bunch of freaking idiots, and eventually I'll just recall them when I see that just I can't get them into the position I want to get them into. You see they're just running around the building like a bunch of idiots taking casualties. So I see it's not going to happen. They're stuck in the movement waypoint vortex, and they're not going to get there. So there's nothing left to do but just recall them, get them out of there. And instead, maybe I'll shift one of these skirmisher units over a little bit. You know, that's kind of the trouble of dealing with having a lot of troops like this in a really compact area, and trying to maneuver. Sorry about that, I hit the mic. So rather than that, I'm just going to send some skirmishers a little further forward and see if we can start shooting at the Prussian flank. As you can see, the Prussian line is getting ready to collapse. They're running. Oh. So I've gone and moved this cavalry division a little too far forward here. And I can see some of the Prussian cavalry here moving around, and I'm wondering if I actually caused that by getting too close to them. So I don't want to actually antagonize them and get them involved. So I'm thinking maybe I brought this cavalry division a little too far forward, and maybe we should pull them back to around here, so that, you know, hopefully we didn't aggravate these guys too much. So yeah, I'm just going to withdraw that whole cavalry division a little bit. So we're bringing some guns up. You can see Schaefer's brigade is moving into position. We're sending them to the right side of the town. Now we're just going to check on what's going on at St. Armand-la-Haye again. So where last we left off over here, we had formed two squares and moved our guns into position along the center. And there's the fort. Still holding, and as you can see, the artillery has driven off pretty much all this that was in front of them, and they're now starting to try and encircle our left here. They're still held in check over here by the units in the fort. This square has caught a little bit of a beating, and now this square is catching a beating because this unit has moved in on our left. So we're going to split off some skirmishers and see if we can send skirmish units out to shoot at these guys and drive them off. It's only one battalion. So we'll have a little detachment of skirmishers. We have a little small battalion that we'll put into... I'm going to cancel this, and actually what I meant to do is put them in skirmish formation. And we'll move them in front of the square to screen them from this battery while this unit shoots them in the... screen them from this battalion while this unit shoots at that battalion in the flank. So as you can see, even though we were over there dealing with Ligny for a good portion of time, and even though some of these squares definitely caught a little bit of a beating, without me doing anything and watching any part of this, the position still held. It held just fine. You know, had I continued to not pay attention to it and let these squares really get shot up and fall and rout, then something bad might have happened. But you know, all these positions are capable of holding for at least, 10 minutes or so without me paying any attention to it at all. As you can see, our artillery here is pounding anything that comes up this road here to dust. So now we've put these skirmishers out here. This unit has fallen back, and we've regained pretty much control of this whole area with just a couple of shifting of units on my part. You can see we have a gun pulling back, and more than likely they're pulling back because they're out of ammo, because I've been over at Ligny and neglecting my supply wagon runs. So we'll bring that gut back up and grab hold of a supply wagon over here and bring them over. Here comes one. Bring them over to resupply this battery. That's no doubt why the gun fell back. You don't score 1,245 points for your battery and not run low on ammo. So, yeah, a lot of these Prussian units have fallen back now. Couple of skirmisher units still in here. The cavalry still in here. I think this cavalry unit here is actually stuck in the movement waypoint vortex as well, because they seem to just be circling this building over and over again. Very similar to what we just saw with my skirmisher unit at Ligny. I believe this is the case with this Prussian unit, is they're stuck in what I call movement waypoint vortex, which is they cannot get to the location the AI has set for them. And they just keep kind of circling this building. But the AI will never recognize what is going on, and will just continue to let them circle. So, for all practical purposes, that unit is out of the battle, because the AI will never really, unless it changes that unit's movement location, or where it wants it to go, you can see it just making circles around that building. It will just continue to circle that building and just do that for the rest of the battle. Whereas if that's happening to one of our units and we see it, we can of course just click on a different location, or, you know, if it's a skirmisher unit, we can recall them, or, you know, do something to end that movement vortex. The AI just doesn't realize what's going on, and so that cavalry unit, you can see them right at the top here, will just continue to circle that building ad nauseum. Just march around it. They're basically stuck in a waypoint loop where they can't get to where they want to go to. So I'm going to start stripping this area. There's no enemy troops over here, and I'm going to start bringing various infantry brigades over to strengthen this part of the line, because Saint-Armand-la-Haye out here seems to be where the Prussians are gathering their strength. So I have a whole bunch of infantry brigades over here that I want to start shifting over to kind of this side of things, because there's no more Prussian units over on. There's nobody over here anymore. We've shot them all out of there. See, they're all gone. So these troops are just sitting here doing nothing. So I want to build up strength behind this position, because obviously the squares will take the worst of it, and if any of them break and run, I want to be able to send troops from my reserve forward. But I've already done that once or twice already, so I've used up what reserve I had over here. So I'm bringing some brigades over to become the new reserve from that kind of western part of this line that is really no longer needs to be there, because there's no more Prussians in that area. As you can see, the Prussians continue to come forward with more troops. They have more infantry here, back here, there's some cavalry back here. So they still have more forces they could send at this position. So this position is good. We have squares in here, and we have guns. You know, it's not a bad position, but we do need to shift some of our units over here to act as the reserve to this position, because we've already kind of sent our reserves in to occupy this position. So luckily there's, you know, large areas of the battlefield now along my line that are really no longer being threatened, so I can siphon units off from in here and send them to that area. So Ligny is ours, so to speak. There's really not much more going on here. They will occasionally keep trying to send battalions forward, but we pretty much have firm control of the area of the town that we needed to capture. We don't have the whole town, but you don't need to capture the whole town, just the objective, and we've already done that. You know, so again, we're just basically setting up a kind of a line of containment here, just to keep the Prussians at bay. We've got a gun battery up here now. If we can actually clear some of these troops out of here and open up a field of fire, these guns might be able to put a hurting on some of these troops as they come forward. But they're not going to be able to do it right now, because I have infantry blocking basically their entire front. So I'm going to see if I can start clearing some of these infantry units out of the way, and you know, maybe push this unit over here somewhere, and, you know, try and get them out of the way. That's certainly not the way I want them to go. See if I can get them across the bridge and into this area. This is an open area in here, and start opening the field of fire for the guns, and I'll move some skirmishers in front of the guns to screen them, as I always do. And any of these Prussian units to try to come forward through this position here will really catch a beating from the guns. I just need to be able to open the field of fire for them. So, okay, there we go. This unit has now found a waypoint movement track across the river and kind of behind this line here. And I'm moving these skirmisher units to screen the guns. And that kind of opens a relatively good field of fire between this unit and this unit. But maybe I can shift this unit over and shift this unit back behind and maybe open an even wider field of fire. You see Prussian units over there streaming from the battle. Alright, so we've pulled our cavalry division a little further back. And I brought Vitry up so that he would bring his supply wagon with him. There's Schaefer's brigade. And here's Vitry. He's got almost 3,000 points. He inflicted almost 2,000 casualties with that attack on Ligny. Not bad. And I'm just going to send the supply wagon and resupply some of these battalions that are a little low on ammo at this point, as they were involved in a rather protracted firefight for a little while there. So, okay, we've opened up a field of fire. So if some of these units start to come forward through this area, they're gonna get clipped by the artillery, and you guys know how big a fan I am of that. And I'm just sending out another skirmisher unit to take the place of these guys who were originally over here. I moved them to screen the guns, so now I'm moving another skirmish unit to take their place. So here we have our first takers here, and let's see if they are daring enough to move into canister range, or if they're just going to stand there. And if we hear canister, we'll know what it is. So I'm just going to bring the cavalry artillery forward, because they're doing no good back there, and just see if they can engage anybody from out here. We have Hulot's division out here guarding the right flank. I'm inclined to just leave them there, even though I know that nobody's coming from the Tongrind area. So over here on the extreme left of the Wagnally line, we have the Young Guard set up in all squares here, facing nothing but cavalry, and we have our artillery bombing away on them. And see, there's really not much left over here. There's a couple of cavalry squadrons, but these guys are all set up in squares, so there's really nothing the cavalry can do. And I'm bringing a supply wagon over because those are the only cannon engaged at this point. The rest of this has been completely driven off. There's really nothing here anymore. There's our boys up on the Namur Road. They're the ones earning the big points for us. So what are we at here? 48,000 points. I mean, this is what I was talking about with the absurd point values that you're going to get from those troops on the Namur Road. You know, we're at basically 50,000 points. You know, and it just gets, more absurd. We still got another, hour to go. We're going to earn another, 15,000 points. So we're gonna end up with, 65,000 points in a scenario where you need 19,000 points for a major victory. So, that's why I was talking about when I said the French can really earn some obscene point totals in the scenario by going for that objective. So, all right, we're getting Lobau going now. I'm going to set him up in line, kind of along the road Gerard's Corps was originally set up on. They're facing the wrong way because I used the command map to move them, so we just need to check that's better. There they go. So that's where they're going to end up, basically in column by division, basically set up where Gerard's Corps was originally set up. And there they go, on the way. And that's the supply wagon. It will begin moving eventually. And Lobau's Corps has a lot of artillery, doesn't it? So it's a relatively small corps. I think it's about 10,000 men. And there's our kind of our arc shape in Ligny. It looks like a big arrow as we've kind of pierced through the center of the town there. And we have absolute control of it at this point. Prussians are clinging on to their little piece on the north side of the river that we really don't care about. But it's going to be real tough for them to come through and attack us now, because this little corridor of approach that they have is now covered by guns. So anybody that tries to come through here is going to get clipped by this artillery. And I'll actually eventually move this skirmish unit up here and actually move the guns even further forward. But first, I want to resupply some of these units that have been in battle for a while and are low on ammo. A lot of these Prussian units have pulled back north of the town, out of engagement distance. Happy that they're just not fighting anymore. As you know, they're all pretty pooped at this point. At this point, they've been getting bombarded by the French artillery for something like 6 hours now. A lot of their units have been broken before we ever even entered the town just by artillery fire. So this looks like a fridge run. That's probably why the camera's not moving. And I think I'll make a fridge run as well. I will be right back, guys. Alrighty, I am back, fellas. So, alright, I'm pulling more units out of the front here because I'm trying to open up even more of a field of fire for the artillery. I want to be able to bring the skirmisher line forward and actually bring the guns a little further forward so that we can clip these guys as they're coming over the bridge. So, I'm trying to clear more and more units out of the center here and open up more of a gap so that I can bring the guns into that gap. Guns, of course, have a greater range than the infantry, and certainly can do more damage with the canister fire. And these guys here may be a little close. Yep, they are. There they go. They are in range of the. That didn't take long. One tasted it, and they were like, "Hell no! What, are you kidding me? I don't want to deal with any of that." Off they run. And smart boys, smart men. No sense in standing there getting bombed on like that. So we're winding down here, guys. We're into the last hour of the battle now. Shortly it's going to start getting dark. Probably about 2100, another half hour or so, the light will start to dim. And the last like 20-15 minutes of the battle are pretty much darkness. So just to briefly go off topic, because we're in kind of a slow mode of the battle now. So between the last video I put up, which was part 3 of the Eagle Triumphs, and this video, my channel passed 100 subscribers. When I started this channel, when I started this Scourge of War Waterloo project, I had 0 subscribers. And 100 subscribers in terms of in you know, by YouTube standards is, you know, really nothing. But you know, I have to say, for a niche game, a very niche game in my opinion, and even more niche in terms of, I think, how many people were out there that actually wanted to learn kind of how the high level mechanics of this game worked. I think when I started this channel, I would have been surprised if I got, you know, 40 or 50 subscribers. So the fact that you know, there's 100 or more of you out there that are interested enough in this game to actually subscribe to the channel is for, you know, pretty impressive to me. That there's that many of you guys out there. So I'm, you know, I'm glad there's, you know, a lot of you guys out there that are digging the channel and you know, learning a lot from the series. And yeah, I just thought it was, you know, kind of a milestone that the channel passed 100 subscribers for what I consider a very niche game. You know, I certainly never started this project as a way to get subscribers. That certainly was never my intention. If I wanted to get subscribers, I would have started a channel where, you know, I record myself lighting my own farts. You know, I would get, you know, millions of subscribers and millions of views. But, you know, that's certainly not what I wanted to do. You know, so, you know, by no means it's like, you know, the number of subscribers I have any kind of like goal I had in terms of, you know, getting any kind of recognition for the channel. That was never my intention. More that I think that it's a reflection of how surprised I am that there are that many of you out there that were actually interested in learning the high-level mechanics of this game and really learning everything that you can do with it. So I think it's more of a reflection on you guys than it is on you know, on me. You know, I'm not really, like I've said before, you know, this is never really about me or trying to make a successful YouTube channel. Because if I wanted to make a successful YouTube channel, doing Scourge of War Waterloo videos, certainly not the way to go. You know, but no, I you know, there was, as far as this game goes, there just wasn't anything else on YouTube like it in terms of what I wanted to do. There's nobody else out there that knows what I know about this game or had ever done a video. If they do, they'd never done a video series about it. You know, so as far as I can tell, there was a void that needed to be filled for this game in terms of presenting the higher level mechanics of it and really teaching people how to play the game and use the game's mechanics. You know, and so that was kind of what my niche was. That was what I felt, the void that I could fill. Yeah, I never really expected to get 100 subscribers out of it. You know, if I found 20 or 30 subscribers, I would have considered it a success. But you know, nearly a year after, or almost 10 months now after I've started this series, you know, the channel has had over like 11,000 views. That's not, you know, not per video, but, you know, the channel as a whole. And yeah, we just passed 100 subscribers, so I thought that was a bit of a milestone. Yeah, give yourselves a round of applause, guys. So anyway, back to the battle here. There's not too much more that really happens here, in all honesty. As it starts to get dark, the Prussians will become a little bit more aggressive, mostly because they can start to advance some of their troops under cover of darkness. Similar to what the French did at the end of the old Fox Fights Back, where they kept trying to move their artillery forward. The Prussians will do something very similar. They'll use the darkness as a chance to try to bring their guns forward. But, you know, we have a lot of cavalry interspersed throughout our line now, so if the Prussians try to come forward with their artillery, we can always send a couple of squadrons forward to run them down. But right now, things are at a standstill. I see I have a skirmisher unit that has decided to run off. I don't know why. They weren't heavily engaged. You know, that was a 100-man skirmisher unit. They've lost 6 men. What are you guys running from? Pansies. So, yeah, they weren't the bravest of troops. 6 men and they break and run. So we got another brigade here, de Villiers brigade, and we're going to bring him over on the right here to kind of, we don't have much of an infantry reserve back here at the moment. This brigade has not been that heavily engaged. They've only lost 43 men. I have to recall a bunch of their skirmish. I had quite a few skirmishers deployed, so I'm just gonna, in order to get the brigade back into something easy to handle, I'm gonna recall all the skirmishers. They certainly don't need to be out there anymore. There's no enemy troops over there, so we'll just recall all the skirmishers, and yeah, we have 3 battalions now in this brigade, and we'll about 1,500 men. We'll bring them over, and that'll be our infantry reserve. And we have another brigade set up over here on our left to cover our left, and that solidifies this position pretty good, in my opinion. These squares are being protected by skirmishers out in front. And we've got our guns in the center, which has caused a lot of these Prussian units to fall back. You can see the cavalry units still circling the building there. They are definitely stuck in the movement point, in the movement waypoint vortex. They are just going to endlessly circle this building here and wear themselves out doing it. I assume they're probably trying to get back here somewhere, because this looks like where the rest of the Prussian cavalry is grouped up back here, but no, they are stuck. Stuck in the vortex. And the only way they'll get out of that vortex is if the AI actually clicks on a different position for them to move to that would break them free of that vortex. And I'm trying to get a supply wagon to resupply some of these skirmisher units, but sometimes it's tough to get find a passable route through some of these troops. So no, they're just gonna go all the way around, but I'm fine with it. So that fort is doing a fine job of keeping the Prussians from moving any closer. Yeah, this position looks pretty solid for now. Got this little group of guys right here. I could just send them into the fort. And it looks like I'm going to bring an artillery battery up here. I had stripped a battery from there to bring them over here earlier in the last video, but now that there's nothing over here, we can bring a battery back into that position, as the fighting has gotten a little more heated over here now, whereas in the last video it was to the left here where it was more heated. There we go. Get in the fort, guys. That's a good place. I'm just checking the capacity yet. We're nowhere near full. So we'll just send this little unit here and just send them into the fort, and we'll have 4 units in there. They're nice and rested, so we can just run them into the fort. So here comes de Villiers' brigade. And we're going to set him up on the right. Because this square now is slowly getting whittled down. And when they break and run, we want to be able to send another unit in there to take up that position. And as we can see on the mini-map here, nothing really going on. Ligny is pretty much all ours, except for this little portion here we don't care about. Most of the fighting is going on around Saint-Armand-la-Haye now. Wagnally's pretty much been abandoned except for some cavalry. Saint Armand has been in our possession for hours. This whole port of the line here is very, very dominant down here. So yeah, most of the fighting is going on Saint Armand-la-Haye right now. not much really going on at Ligny. And with these guns in position now, I expect it's going to be very tough for any Prussian unit to try and advance against us, because the moment they get up onto this bridge or slightly in front of it, they're going to start getting clipped by this, by these French guns that I've now moved even further forward. So these boys here are quickly coming into canister range here. And if I'm not mistaken, they're going to get clipped real soon. Still nothing going on the other side of the town. I don't even see, it looks like some of those units have pulled back. I don't know if artillery did that. No, it couldn't have been artillery because they actually took 2 casualties. So this unit has found a spot to open fire on us with. They should be in range of the artillery's canister fire. They certainly don't look to be 200 yards away. Yep, they are. They're getting clipped. And off they run. You can see of their own volition here, the Prussians have abandoned the castle here. They don't have any troops in it anymore. Certainly don't know why they abandoned it, other than they just needed the battalions to fight the troops in Ligny. So we've got Villiers' brigade over here now. Some of them have formed line, which they don't need to. So we're going to put them back in column by division. And yeah, stay that way, boys. You're not even engaged. This square is exhausted. They're strangely still getting the better of it. They have 140 points. They've killed more men than casualties they've taken. However, they have taken 300 casualties. They are getting whittled down. Certainly, you can see the front of the square has been shot out pretty good. So they will probably break and run. Although they're resting now, they're not engaged. And they're actually redistributing their men to make the square more even all around. Now that they have been unengaged and have a chance to rest. It looks like the skirmish unit that was out here has broken and run, so they may get a slight reprieve, and maybe they'll get a chance to recover some of their fatigue, and maybe they'll hold on a little longer. Because they are exhausted. You can hear the artillery battery that I'm moving into position, that I'm going to move into position over there. Moving forward, there they are. And they're going in over here. Good spot to start bombing away on some of these troops out here. And you can see a lot more of these units now are becoming question marks. Question marks meaning you can't identify them, and that's because as it's getting later here, it's starting to get darker, and the visibility distance starts decreasing. So it becomes harder to identify. Eventually, when it gets nighttime, these will all be question marks, or when it becomes like dusk. And at nighttime, you won't even be able to. They won't even be in line of sight. The whole map will go blank as far as the Prussian side is concerned. So we have 54,000 points, and again, this is just the troops on the Namur Road continuing to feed us 5,000 points every 20 minutes. It's just crazy. We still have about 40 minutes left in this scenario, so we're going to get, another 10,000 points or so out of this. And here you can see Lobau's corps still on the move. There's Lobau. He's got about 11,000 men. Looks like he's got like 3 divisions and 3 artillery batteries. So he's got a lot of artillery, but he's kind of an understrength corps in terms of comparing him to, say, Gerard or Van Damme, you know, who have about 20,000 man corps. But Lobau is not really going to be engaged here. He, of course, is the corps that will handle much of the fighting around Place Noir 2 days later at Waterloo. One of his divisions, though, actually goes off with Grouchy to Wavre. So his corps is under strength now, but it becomes even more under strength at Waterloo because he's short a division, because one of his divisions is with Grouchy at Wavre. I think it's Test Division. So some Prussian units have moved into the center again, but artillery is continuing to pound them with canister fire. And they're hitting the skirmisher units, and there they go. And now we're continuing to bomb away on this unit in the center here. They're going to break and run too, because they're catching hell. However, one of our skirmisher units are... What is with my skirmisher units routing today? Pansies. So, no problem. That's why I brought more infantry up into the reserve. We'll just kick out a skirmish unit to replace them. And just put them right in front of the guns here. I think what happens here is as it becomes later and the visibility starts to decrease and it becomes, you know, dusk and starts to get darker, that units' morale begin to become a little more shaky and they're more prone to routing, which is why I'm seeing more of my units break and run at this point now than, you know, any other point in the battle previously. Plus, they've just been, you know, they've been out here for a long time at this point. The French army has been engaged, especially on this side of the field, for, you know, almost 6 hours at this point. So, you know, they're starting to get a little sick of fighting at this point. And I'm going to move more as a threat than anything else. I'm going to move Vincent's brigade of cavalry forward here, just so the Prussians know they're there, and then I'm not messing around. If they really want to get stupid, I'll give them something to get stupid with. I'm playing with the Prussians here at this point. If I wanted to run every one of these Prussian units out of here, I certainly could. I'm just not really interested in doing so. I'm happy to just shoot it out with them. I'm actually going to form this unit back into line. There's no reason for them to be in square. There's no cavalry over here. You know, it's one squadron over here. So, at this point, these guys don't need to be in square anymore. So we're going to have them shoot it out with this unit in line. This unit is going to catch hell, though, from the artillery that's right here. We're just going to pulverize them with canister fire. You know, and they're already thinking about pulling back. There they go. You know, you can't stand in front of artillery firing canister for that long. So things have really quieted down over here at Wagnally. There's just a couple of Prussian squadrons sitting out here with really nothing to do. There's nothing going on over here. But I do see a Prussian battery moving in over here. I'm not sure what they're planning to do, but if they set up unprotected, I might be able to make a cavalry run at them. Let's wait and see what they're going to do. I'm looking to see what cavalry I have available here to work with. So you can really start to see the visibility starting to decrease now. It's not so bad when you're just looking at a tight view like this, but when you start to look out towards the horizon, you can definitely start to see that it's getting dark out. So it looks like a Prussian battery is attempting to set up somewhere in here. That's a little close to my line here. So if they try to set up there, I may look to make a cavalry run at them just to get them out of there. So we've got almost 60,000 points at this point. way ahead of what we need for a major victory. I mean, there's no way we're losing this battle. There's no way. You know, this is why I think this objective is just worth too much. The fact that once you capture it, you literally are just earning 5,000 points every 20 minutes is just crazy, because you're able to earn just an obscene amount of points as the French in this scenario. And this is what I'm talking about. As it starts to get darker, the Prussians use that opportunity to start moving some of their troops in closer. So now they've managed to get a battery off my left flank here. And I've got some... Who do I got withdrawn here? Who are these guys? Another skirmisher unit. God damn it. I'm not having good luck with skirmishers at this point. They're just breaking and running. So I need to keep splitting off more units here. These guys, these guns here, these are too close. I don't like that. So I have Demanguez Brigade of the 3rd Division of Cavalry. And I may try to gather them up and see if I can make a cavalry run at this battery and maybe actually take them from the rear. Because there's no troops across the river here. I can just kind of cross the river here and get behind them. And I'll set them up in column by division here and set up a little line that I can charge those guns with. So there they go. They're moving off. And yeah, because I don't like how close these guns are, but they're not heavily defended. If I can get a few cavalry units over there. See, they're bombing away on my skirmishers now. They're in canister range, so I'm gonna actually have to pull this line back a little bit, and instead of being here, I'm going to set them up in here to get them out of canister range. So yeah, the Prussians have managed to get this gun battery pretty close. But all they've got is one cavalry squadron protecting them. So if I can get 3 or 4 cavalry squadrons on their flank, I can just charge through and run and capture all these guns. So that's what I'm trying to get together here with Dominguez Brigade. And you can see them moving forward, getting ready to cross the river on the Prussian flank. Still, this cavalry squadron is circling the building in the vortex. Alright, so we've pulled our line back here and set up our brigade in battle line. And we've got pieces of a skirmisher unit screening them. But again, I don't like these guns being so close. And you can see the cavalry actually moving off, which is going to leave this battery completely undefended. And we're moving our cavalry into position behind them, and then we'll move forward. And the idea here is to move, set them up behind them and then move forward and charge them from the rear. Which ends up not working, as I recall. Because the Prussians actually, I guess, see what it is I'm going to try. And we see another skirmisher unit running off here, which is not having good luck with these skirmishers at this point. So, but we have a whole brigade in battle line here. And I can actually turn this unit and kind of join them up with this brigade and, you know, shoot at these guys and these guys. But you can see this cavalry squadron is moving off. They're not protecting these guns. So the cavalry brigade I'm moving into position in the rear would be in a really good spot to actually charge these guys from the rear. Except that they're going to get intercepted by those few Prussian cavalry squadrons that are still up by Ligny, by the Young Guard. The Prussians actually send them to intercept that cavalry, which was I actually didn't expect that. I would not have expected the AI to redirect troops that are so far away to intercept my cavalry setup that I'm setting up there across the river, but that's exactly what they did, and they kind of caught me by surprise, and instead I had to engage them. So you can see still, because of the darkness, I don't see them coming. I'm double clicking the officer to get the, but they're coming up, they're coming down, and I can't see them because the horizon is dark now. So they're going to catch me by surprise here, and I'm going to have to end up engaging them. So and instead I'll take this cavalry brigade here, and I'll just do a straight charge across the river at these guns later on. I'm just sending a skirmisher in and out to screen the guns. Now you can see them slowly moving in. This was really surprising that the Prussians, these are those few squadrons that were up by the Ligny position, you know, by the Young Guard in square, and the AI actually redirected them southwards to intercept my cavalry that I have crossing the river here. And I didn't expect them to do that. So instead, I'm going to get involved in a little cavalry melee here, which is largely a standoff. But it does break up my attempt to charge the guns, which is what I wanted to use that cavalry for. But as it gets darker and darker, and you can see it's the visibility is really starting to decrease here, it gets harder and harder to see Prussian forces approaching. Because they're able to get much closer before I can see them. So I have all my troops out of canister range of these guns now, and some of their forces are actually blocking their line of sight. But I just don't like having cannon that close to me. See, it's really getting dark out. So I'm setting up my cavalry charge here, and look at this. Here come the Prussians, and I have to charge them instead. Now, luckily, my whole cavalry brigade is pretty much here, and that's just one squad, their advanced squadron. So we pretty much run them off pretty quickly. But I see more cavalry behind them, and I realize that, hey, you know what? This isn't going to work. I'm going to have to attack these guys. So here we go. We're getting into a cavalry melee here. So, like I said, the AI did something very surprising here. I did not expect them to go this route. Nor did I expect them. They actually have me outnumbered. They've got about 5 squadrons to my 4. You know, so right now we're more concentrated, so we're hitting them as they come up. But they definitely have more troops than we do. And this largely turns into a stalemate, and I basically withdraw. Because at that point, after all this meleeing, I can't use them to charge the cavalry. The artillery. So yeah, some of my troops are withdrawing now as more and more Prussian units advance. And it's like, okay, that plan failed. And one of my squadrons just surrendered up there, so now the fight's beginning to go against me. We started off good, but there's actually more Prussian cavalry there than I had, so yep, that plan ain't gonna work. So instead, I'm just going to say, you know what? I got a whole cavalry brigade here. And it's worth it to use them to just cross the river, go straight at these guns and get them. Because there's nobody defending them. So, there we go. Got a whole cavalry brigade. We'll charge those guns and get them the hell out of there. You can see it's really starting to get dark out. The visibility is really decreasing at this point, and in another 5 to 10 minutes, it's going to become really, really hard. So I got to get this cavalry charge over and done with what little visibility I have, because the darker it gets, the harder it gets to see what's in front of me. And the little cavalry battle is still going on here. Like I said, largely a standoff. You know, my brigade has pulled back a little bit, but so have the Prussians. A lot of their squadrons have been run off too. So it was largely a standoff. But they did succeed in. The Prussians did succeed in stopping what I originally had intended for that cavalry brigade, which was to charge that Prussian artillery. So they did stop that, but luckily I have a lot more cavalry, and you know, even though that brigade got intercepted, you know, the next one won't be. So one way or another, we're going to get those guns. And I'm just moving another cavalry brigade over to protect these guns over here. I've got Duret's whole division over here to protect the guns over there, so. So here comes Vinot's cavalry brigade, and we're moving him forward to take the guns. Now, because I'm attacking them frontally, they're going to take some canister fire. There they go, as they move in. So I'm going to double quick them across the river, get there as fast as they can. But once they get across the river, we'll be able to take all the guns. That's really what counts. Yeah, they're going to eat some canister fire as they cross the river. But, you know, that's why I sent the whole brigade, because, you know, even taking casualties as they cross the river, you know, I'm still going to be able to capture all the guns. So here we go. Little cavalry charge, and these guns are trying to hook up and get out of there, but it's too late. The cavalry is way too close. They're all across the river now, and the whole brigade is just going to run them down. So you'll see the white flags of surrender appear as we capture each gun. And now some of these squadrons are actually going off to attack that Prussian cavalry squadron. You know what? There's 3 of them going for it, so they're probably going to win it. So go to it, boys. But we've captured all the guns, and I think I want to actually retreat. I don't want to. It's getting dark out. You know, I don't want to engage any more than I have to. We got the guns. That's what I really cared about. Let's get these guys back behind the lines where it's safe. Because it's just getting too dark for me to see what the hell is going on. So a cool 190 points at the cost of 20 men. I would say that's a success. Captured a whole gun battery, and it only cost us 20 horses. So here comes. We'll just take charge of every squadron, and they will come back and set up basically back behind the safety of our lines. So here we go. We got 20 minutes left in the scenario, but it's getting so dark. It's getting to the point where I can't really do much of anything because I just can't see what's going on. So we have 60,000 points now. You know, insane. You know, basically 40,000 points more than we need, and that's all just due to the Namur Road and that objective. So there goes Vinot's cavalry, And here's Domagant's cavalry again. We're gonna see if we can get them out of there, too. Just gotta find the commander. Here he is. See if we can pull them back as well. It's getting too dark to really control anything. And the Prussians look like they're happy to sit there. They've only got about 2 or 3 squadrons left. As I said, that cavalry engagement was largely a standoff. So, yeah, Zeno's brigade is back where he started, but 190 points richer. And I see I have another square that's breaking and running here. Yep, they're routed. So we'll send another one up and put them in square. So another Prussian skirmisher unit has moved to within distance of the fort. We've got plenty of troops in there to handle them. I cannot see my beak in front of me now. It is really, really getting dark out here. But luckily, the fighting is pretty much completely died down at all points. This is what, here we go. This is what I'm talking about. The Prussians, under the cover of darkness now, are now trying to advance all their guns forward. Look at all these guns coming forward. But I have cavalry, and it's like, okay, let's just see what they can get. So we're going to actually send a cavalry unit across the river here. Got about almost 200 men. These are part of the dragoons of the Imperial Guard. So they're level 8 elite troops. They're really good cavalry. Should be able to get quite a few guns. Now the guns are starting to turn around as they get fired upon. But the cavalry has now crossed the river. Let's see if we can get some. It doesn't look like the guns are getting bombed on with canister from my guns across the river. Oh, there's a whole lot of guns out here. Boy, look at this. There's got to be at least 20, 30 guns out here. Jesus, it's just more and more of them coming forward. So, yep. You see one unit forming square, but there doesn't appear to be any cavalry, so this just looks like a free cavalry smorgasbord right here. Go, boys. Oh, and they're retreating. And this is probably because they came in range of the square. So they're going to fall back, but then I'll redirect them further north so that they don't come in range of that square. Because they're guard cavalry. Believe me, they're not done. They're far from done. I just got to keep them away from that square. So yeah, I'll redirect them further north away from that square, and we'll see if we can get some more guns here. Because yeah, they're in no way done. Look at all these guns. And some of these guns are trying to deploy, but they're just rolling out now. There's no way they're going to get to fire on my cavalry here. So here we go. Vive la France. Charge all these guns. Get them the hell out of there. So just battery after battery after battery. There's a lot of points, too. Every gun is like 30 points, so just keep racking them up, boys. Morale has dropped a little bit, probably because it's dark out, but this is still Imperial Guard cavalry, and they will keep doing it. So they're just charging and charging here. They're capturing a lot of guns. We're up to 322 points, and I'm just gonna... this is like a smorgasbord of guns. There's so many out here, and I'm just basically gonna keep charging, capturing as many of these guns as I can until I can charge no more, so to speak. So we're at almost 400 points. Now there is some Prussian cavalry up here. I see one squadron. I don't know what kind of shape they're in. But it looks like they're withdrawing actually, so looks like we're going to be able to capture more guns here. Now we're just racking it loose. We're at almost 500 points here. I mean, this is crazy. Now I see they're going for the Prussian cavalry, and I really don't want them to do that, so I'm going to actually redirect them to move back here. And then I'll re-click the charge button because I want to get the guns. Nope, they just keep wanting to go for the Prussian cavalry. Now they're stuck in charge. Oh well. They've got over 500 points. So now they're charging this Prussian squadron. Yeah, now they're getting the worst of it. Off they run. Oh well. We'll see if we can get them to safety. They captured 500 points worth of guns. I can't complain. I've got another lone squadron out there somewhere. Who the heck are these guys? This is a battalion of Domagants that really did not do well. Need to get them out of there. Bring them back here somewhere, just behind our lines, just get them there. And let's see how our squadron of cavalry is doing here. Our guard cavalry that got us 500 points. Here they come. So if we can get them back behind these lines across the river, that should be relatively safe. They're being pursued by some Prussian cavalry, but I suspect once I cross the river here, the Prussian cavalry will not pursue them, as that will bring them into range of skirmishers and artillery, and you know they'll get pretty shot up. So I just need to get these. Just need to get the squadron back here. Oh, look at these maniacs! They turned and ran on. They turned and attacked the Prussians. Are you kidding me? Nutcases! And they actually gained 50 points doing it. Yep, that's what I'm talking about with this Imperial Guard, man. They are maniacs. So they were retreating, and then they suddenly turned on the Prussians and inflicted 50 casualties on them. And now they're retreating again. And I really, yeah, I'm trying to save them from themselves at this point, because, you know, they're crazy. Like, you guys captured all those guns and inflicted another 50 points worth of casualties on the Prussian cavalry. You have done your bit for France, boys. You can pull back now. So you can see, as soon as the Prussians moved within range, all my skirmishers opened fire on them, and they just quickly turned around. So at the very least, we have turned all this Prussian artillery around. As I said, that's always something the AI likes to do. They like to try and move their positions forward under cover of darkness to get themselves in close. And it is just impossible to see at this point. I don't know what's going on around me. You know, it's just everything is super dark. This is not your screen playing games with you. This is actually just how dark it is. It is pitch black at this point, and I cannot see anything going on. So I think in a minute or two, it's going to become completely night out, and the fighting will cease. And then you'll see a whole bunch of skirmishing units start routing. Just as soon as it becomes completely dark out, just units start routing. But at the same time, it doesn't matter, because once it becomes completely dark out, the fighting basically completely stops. So it doesn't matter that if a couple of units rout. Yeah, but I'm just like looking around, and it's like I can't see what the hell is happening anymore. So I'm pretty much trying to monitor stuff by the mini map, because I can't see anything at this point. It's just way too dark out. I can see some Prussians trying to move forward, but that's the Imperial Guard out there. Get real. And like I said, in a minute or two, or maybe in a few seconds, it's going to become completely night out, and the battle will completely kind of die down. So this is by the fort at Saint Armand-la-Haye. So this battery racked up a nice 1,234 points. I hear canister going off. I'm assuming it's these guys over here. These are the only guys in close enough range. How the hell did this square get up here? How the hell did I get... What? Are you boys crazy? I don't know how the hell they got up there. That's nuts. Come on, guys. Get back here. Maniacs. Alright, so it's completely nighttime now. And that's it. The fighting's completely died down. So there's no more line of sight to anybody. You notice all the Prussian units I had in visibility are all off the map now. You can still see them. They're all question marks now. You can see all these skirmishing units routing. As it became, that's just something that happens at nighttime. Skirmishing units will just start routing. So here was our a squadron of the guard here that is routed. It's something that happens at night. So that's basically it. We still have, still like 7 more minutes in the scenario before the scenario itself is over. But as night has fallen, pretty much all the shooting is pretty much done. So you can see we scored almost 66,000 points, just an obscenely high score. I think by the end of this here, we do actually cross 66,000 points. Just an obscenely high score. I mean, crazy. In a scenario that you only need 19,000 points for a major victory. And that's, like I said, basically due to the strategy we used, which was to, go for this objective on the Namur Road up here. This is the, I called it in the episode or part 1 of the series, I called it Point Valhalla, and that's exactly what it is, as it just is a shower of points that rains down on us from the heavens, and really gives us an insane point total. So this is a complete overwhelming victory here. We captured Saint Armand, we captured Saint Armand-la-Haye, Wagnally, and then we've captured the Namur Road objective, which essentially, is signifying that we have cut Blucher's line of communication off from Wellington, because this road here, this is the Namur-Navillers Road. It leads northwest here. It leads towards Quatre Bras. So by occupying this road here at this point, we've effectively cut the Prussians off from Wellington. His army is no longer able to reach the Prussians. Here we have the 6th Corps. that has finally deployed kind of along the road where Gerard's corps was. And you see it's very, very dark out. So I'm just looking to see how his corps deployed. And they set up pretty much in line of column by division brigades with their artillery behind them. So here's Lobau, the corps commander, and we're about in the middle of his division here. We have some artillery on the left here, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce that name, but he is the commander of the artillery reserve. So we have Jinin's 20th Infantry Division, and he has 2 brigades, Boney and Tromelin. So yeah, that's the 19th Division. And then we'll scroll over here, and that's Lobau again. And then over here we have Simmer's Division, and he has 2 brigades, Devinet and Belair. And oh no, I guess this is the 19th Division, and the other one was the 20th Division. Okay, yeah. So Simmer has the 19th Division, and over here I think we have Test's Division, and yeah, he's the 21st Division. And this is the one I believe that goes to Wavre, and he has 2 brigades, Penn and Ricard. And yeah, these are the two. This is the division that goes with Grouchy to Wavre, while the 20th and the 19th divisions go with Lobau to Waterloo, where of course they will fight at Place Noire. And here we are back at Bonaparte. We have crossed 66,000 points. So we inflicted 23,000 casualties on the Prussians. We took about 8,000 casualties. I think historically the French inflicted about 15,000 casualties on the Prussians. So we did a little better than they did historically. We're now intercepting courier messages from the Prussians. So well, we're not going to get another 5,000 points out of this because there's only 3 minutes left, or 2 minutes left in the scenario, but we have another 4 minutes to go on this objective. So 40,000 points is what we got out of this objective. I mean, just crazy. Crazy that we got that many points out of this objective. Just nuts. So yeah, all the fighting has died down here. And it looks like there's Prussian units, in our lines, but I can't see anything. So they must be just standing out there in the darkness. And yeah, I don't see anything. But we're still intercepting courier messages. Just one right after another. The AI doesn't realize, the battle's over here. So yeah, that's not bad at all. So we've completely encircled the Prussians over here, captured Ligny, driven the Prussians pretty much all out of Ligny here. And they will withdraw northwards towards Wavre in a lot worse shape than they were historically, while our troops are in a lot better shape than they were historically. Certainly we didn't really use the Imperial Guard at all. Gerard's corps really didn't have a hard time of it in terms of capturing Ligny. And even Van Damme's corps is in pretty decent shape here. And of course Lobau's corps we didn't use at all, so yeah. So we got about 30 seconds left on the scenario, guys. We're just waiting for the time to run out. So these are our final positions here. We've pretty much encircled the Prussians at Saint Armand's, buckled them up behind the River Ligny and captured Ligny. So here we go, guys. This is the end of the Battle of Ligny at 66,000 points. What a crazy amount of points we earned. And again, that is all due to that objective on the Namur Road. That is the big money objective. It is the absolute most important objective in this scenario, the one you should absolutely be going for. Everything else is kind of irrelevant. I did capture Ligny, but in truth, I only captured it because I needed something to do in part four, in the last part, and that was pretty much the only reason I attacked Ligny, was just to give you guys something to watch, because otherwise, like I said, it would have been 2 hours of me doing, supply wagon runs and so forth. It wouldn't have been that exciting to watch. Um, so yeah, all right, wow, the Battle of Ligny is over. Those were two monster scenarios: the Old Fox Fights Back and the Eagle Triumphs. Took us quite a number of weeks to get through them, but we are finally through them. So uh, up next, I guess, is we're going to do the Battle of Wavre, which is nothing compared to what we just went through with Ligny. I think each of those scenarios from the Prussian and the French side are only 2 hours long. Uh, so I haven't recorded the playthroughs for them yet. Honestly, I've been slacking on this game, other than doing the commentary videos that I've been uploading to YouTube. I haven't really been playing it much lately because I've been playing some other stuff. I've been playing Street Fighter V Arcade Edition, just came out. I've been playing with that, um, and messing around with Darksiders, which is another one of my favorite game series. Um, so yeah, I've been kind of been slacking on this game and haven't really been playing it because, as I said, when I did these playthroughs um, for the two Ligny scenarios, the Old Fox Fights Back and the Eagle Triumphs, I did them weeks ago, like back in the beginning of December. Months ago almost at this point. And I did them all in one weekend. I just went mad one weekend and banged out 14 hours of gameplay in one weekend. I did the Old Fox Fights Back on a Saturday, and then the next day on Sunday I did the Eagle Triumphs. So I did 7 hours one day and 7 hours the next day, and that's pretty much provided me with enough content, to basically slack off on playing the game and just uploading these videos 2 hours at a time. Uh, so yeah, I got to get back to playing it. So hopefully this weekend I'll do the same thing. I'll just knock out the French and Prussian playthroughs of Wavre, which should be nothing compared to what we just went through with Ligny. Because as I said, each Wavre scenario I think is only 2 hours long. So um, that's nothing compared to what we just went through with Ligny. And I'll probably just, it'll be long videos. They'll be over 2 hours, but I'll probably just do them all in one shot instead of breaking them up into parts because it's shorter even than Quatre Bras. So it's I think we can get away with doing like a 2.5 hour video and just knocking Wavre out in one shot. And then it's on to the granddaddy of them all, and the final showdown between Napoleon and Wellington at Waterloo. And those are also monster scenarios. They're the longest scenarios in the game at 9 hours. So those will be really long videos too. Uh, or they'll be, large multi-part series, just like Ligny was. Ligny was 4 parts, so Waterloo tacks on another 2 hours, so those will probably be 5-part videos for those scenarios, and then yeah, we'll have reached the end. I can't believe it that we're coming down to the end of it. It's been nearly a year now since I started the series, and I honestly did not know what I was getting myself into when I started it. That it would take this long, or that I would. I don't know if I even really believed when I started this that I would actually get to the end of it. I think I was sort of a pipe dream. I thought I'll probably do the brigade series and maybe some of the division scenarios, and nobody will show any interest and nobody will care, and I'll just stop doing it. But that's not really what happened. As the series grew, I got more and more subscribers and more views, and it kind of motivated me to keep going. And now here we are, closing in at the end. All right, guys, that is it. We have completed both scenarios now at this point for the Battle of Ligny. Huge monster scenarios, and I hope that now that this series is complete, that you guys will have a better understanding of and better insight at how to handle the Battle of Ligny from both the Prussian side and the French side, as it's hopefully you'll have a better game plan now as to actually how to handle a battle of this scope and size, and realize that you don't have to handle every single unit on the map at once, and you can actually, attack, little points of it, at any one time, both, in the Prussian scenario and in the French scenario. In the Prussian scenario, you basically just have to meet the French at the attack points where they attack, and, kind of just bounce around to the local hotspots at Wagney, Saint Armand La Haye, Saint Armand, Ligny, and the Tongres areas, and just kind of bounce back and forth. And the French, of course, you only need to attack very specific parts of the battlefield to get to that objective on the Namur Road, which is, obviously the most important objective in the scenario, just because of how many points it's worth. So yeah, so hopefully, like I said, hopefully now that the playthroughs of Ligny are over, and you guys see that what the obvious strategies are, it'll help you guys out in beating the scenario yourselves. So that's it, guys. And like I said, I'll try to get Vavra recorded, the playthroughs anyway, this weekend, and then maybe later in the week after I'll upload the commentary videos. Like I said, we'll just knock it out in one shot. They're only 2 hour scenarios. So all right, guys, that is it, and I will see you guys next time. Take it easy.